Welcome back, y'all. So I am back and I'm continuing my story time. I'm Christina Jones, Christina Jones story. I talk about a lot of me overcoming and over how I overcame and still overcoming childhood and adulthood sexual trauma. However, I'm taking another spin of story time, and this is how I became wife and then caregiver for my husband. So yes, I want to continue. So with my husband, when he found out, he's like, mm, I think I want to just stop taking the prednisone altogether because it's making me gain weight. It's making me feel uncomfortable. So the moment that he stopped taking it and the prednisone began to go out of his system, all the inflammation that had been suppressed for so long by using the prednisone, all of that came back and it came back full force, where it began to create very, very painful cysts throughout his body, primarily on his legs. And we didn't know the severity of it until he wasn't able to get out of the bed, until he was just like regurgitating, just throwing up so much, so much. He was so sick. He had lost so much weight. So he went from like 180, 190, he went from that to about maybe 118 pounds. And we didn't know that he had lost that much weight. I mean, I can visibly see it on him, but we didn't know the severity of it until we actually went to the doctor. And I was telling him, I said, honey, you gotta go to the doctor. You gotta go to, you have to go. But then again, here it is, we're newlyweds. We just got married in 2018. And in 2020, it's like, man, what's going on with my husband, right? So after he, was losing all the weight and stuff, finally in January, so this is from the end of November to January, and I believe it was January 31st. I remember a month prior, December 31st, that's his birthday, December 31st, he couldn't even get out the bed. He was eating like maybe about an ounce of food a day because he couldn't keep it, he couldn't hold it down, you know. Um, so, and I think because he's had bad experiences at the hospital, that's what kept him from like not wanting to go, not wanting to be at the hospital at all. Um, that's what, just kept him from it. So eventually I was able to convince him to finally go. And this was January 2021, January 31st. His doctor told him, he said, either you go to the hospital or I prepare you for hospice. Either way, something's got to give. You got to either go to the hospital or I'm going to prepare you to go to hospice, to receive end of life care. No one wanted to hear that. Like, that was very scary. My husband, he, finally obliged. He's like, okay, I'll go. So I went ahead. We had some things we had to do because he had to renew his ID or driver's license. So we went ahead and did that. And then we went home. I packed up our clothes, I packed up his clothes for the hospital because I think there were still restrictions because of the C virus. The hospitals were pretty much just restricted to just having the person that's sick to be at the hospital and no visitors at all. So I went home, packed up his clothes, and took him to the hospital. That's when we found out that he was about 118 pounds, and that was with his shoes on. So he probably was less than 118 pounds. Um, he had cysts throughout his body that needed to be surgically removed. There were cysts the size of my fist that you can literally take your fist and put it inside once those were removed, surgically removed. He was still walking at this point, it was still, but he was very weak, very weak, very hard for him to get out of the bed, but he was able to still walk on his own because that was January 2021 when he went and was admitted. And I think it was February 4th when he had the surgical procedures to remove several cysts in his body. including the one that I could literally put my fist inside of. Um, that was a time too when he converted from being vegetarian to now he was eating a regular meal of a meat. He had a meat diet now. So, and I think that's what probably helped him heal a lot quicker. But I am not giving medical advice. You know, your body is your body. Do what you're meant to do with your body. Don't take this. Don't say, well, Christina said that if you eat meat, then that's when you're gonna feel better. But everybody, everyone's body is different, right? But anyway, he began to once he came out because he was discharged. But while he was in the hospital and when he had the surgical procedure, I want to say he might have had like maybe 2 or 3 blood transfusions during that time as well. And maybe he lost a lot of blood during that time because he was coming off of the steroids. He's coming off of the prednisone. So I don't know if that's why. But anyway, he came home a couple of days later and they had already put in place like the in-home nurses, the in-home doctors, different people that will be able to come in and help with the bandage changes and to teach me how to do it. So eventually I learned how to do like a wet to dry dressing and things like that. But still in my mind, like this is going on with my husband. I'm young, you know, we just got married. And it's like, what am I supposed to do?